I have watched a ton of carbonara recipe videos on YouTube, and for some reason, they don't share the one key information that you need to make it super easy. I'm gonna share that with you today, and then we're gonna use that and think like a chef to make this recipe foolproof. Don't use cream. Do not use cream. That's not the secret here. That's cheating. If you use cream, the Italians will come after you, they'll send the mafia, and then you'll disappear, and I'll lose another subscriber, which I really can't afford. The difficulty of pasta carbonara is that the sauce is an emulsification of pasta water, cheese, and yolk. Yolk, that's the problem. If the temperature's too high, you get scrambled eggs. If the temperature's too low, you get nasty raw egg flavor, right? The original recipe calls for pecorino cheese, and that's what we're gonna use today. Now, if you prefer a mix of pecorino and some other cheeses, go ahead and use that. So for this recipe today, I did go ahead and make some homemade pasta. I like the flavor, I like the texture. Let me just say one quick thing about homemade pasta versus dried pasta. What I've learned is that the Italians regard homemade pasta and dried pasta as simply different types of ingredients, right? There's no judgment about how one is automatically better than the other. They simply treat them as different ingredients and cook them as different ingredients. Okay, so let's first cook the pasta. Now, what might be different in this recipe is that we're gonna use a pan instead of a pot to cook the pasta, right? This method was popularized by Kenji Lopez Alt, and the idea is that you're gonna use less water, less salt, and the starch will be more concentrated, right? Well, in this case, in my recipe, we're gonna go even further than that, right? We're gonna cook the pasta, we're gonna take it out, and then we're gonna further reduce the pasta water to further concentrate the starch, and that's gonna create an incredibly creamy sauce as part of the emulsification. Okay, so now we're gonna cook the pancetta. Yes, I said pancetta. I know the original recipe calls for guanciale, and I agree that it's a better choice. Because it's the cheek of the pig, it's very fatty. It's almost all fat. The people who created the original recipe certainly knew what they're doing, because when you render out the fat and you add the oil to the emulsification, it does add greatly to the flavor. But it's hard to find, right? I had a source on Amazon, but it disappeared. And it's easier to get a hold of pancetta. And if you can't get a hold of pancetta, go ahead and use bacon. It's all pork anyways, it's fine. Okay, so you've cooked the pasta, you've set aside the pasta water, we've rendered out the pancetta. Now it's time to put it all together. And this is the heart of the method. Egg yolk cooks at a temperature range between 144 to 159 degrees Fahrenheit. And remember what we said, the egg yolk is the problem. Sometimes it turns into scrambled eggs, or other times it's raw egg flavor, right? So long as we keep the emulsification within around the range of 140 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe as high as 145, definitely as long as we don't hit 150, right? Egg will not cook. That's the key understanding. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the pan that we used to cook the pasta and toss in some hot water. It doesn't have to be boiling. I would say around 185 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we're gonna place a metal bowl in the hot water to warm it up. We're gonna toss in the pancetta. We're gonna toss in the egg yolk and toss in most of the cheese, right? We're gonna keep adding the cheese as we mix the sauce, right? And we're gonna continue to monitor the temperature, either with infrared thermometer, or if you have a pro thermometer or a meat thermometer, just stick it into the emulsification and monitor the temperature that way. As you continue to mix and add the cheese, that wonderful creamy sauce will appear right before your eyes, right? And the whole idea of this recipe is that we are creating the emulsification in a temperature controlled environment so there can be no mistake and no failure. Okay, you're almost there. Toss in the pasta and start mixing. It may get a little bit dry, and that's when you pour in the rest of the concentrated pasta water, and you'll see that the wonderful creamy sauce starts to coat pasta, and then there you have it. You're done. You got it. I want to show you what it looks like when it's plated. Take a look at that creamy, wonderful sauce. That's what you can achieve when you use this method, using a water bath for a controlled temperature environment. Right, there you have it. This recipe is foolproof, and it will work every single time. Now, if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you at the next video.